All right, so I know it's carb overload time. It's just like school after lunch. The carbs kick in, eyes get droopy. But you know, it's a pretty great day. One, I woke up breathing, and everybody can say that every day. Two, this is my first DALI conference, and this is pretty awesome, meeting a lot of amazing people. Three, I won at the casino last night, so that was pretty great. And four, I've had lots of coffee, so I'm pretty jazzed, ready to get rocking and rolling. If I could figure out... I move my slides here if I'm smart enough. There we go. My name's Aaron Maurer. I go by Coffee Chug online. This is what my kids called me. It was I was Pharaoh Coffee Chug when I taught 6th grade social studies, and it still sticks in. Website's coffeeforthebrain.com, and I just launched a nonprofit 3 weeks ago, so I'm still trying to figure out how to get money to keep rent and insurance. But I am given this awesome opportunity on behalf of LEGO Education. I'm a LEAP educator on the LEGO Education Advisory Panel, and so I got a chance to speak with you today, and so I'm really excited to talk to you today about that. I don't want to talk about whether STEM or STEAM and the discussions on that, because I think it's there's more important things that we can be talking about. So I want to flip it a little bit, and I want to talk about this. We're at a point where we need to stop talking about the things that we're going to do and actually start doing it. We need to stop talking about all the excuses of why we can't make it happen and just start making it happen and just start getting into action. And so I'm going to show you this little commercial, and I want you to think about the question on the screen while you watch it.
So tell me, why should we hire you?
I have 2 kitty cats. 1, 2, because I got stuff I can do. I like playing in my treehouse. I like ponies and lip gloss. I do a pretty good job. I can't really talk about it. My mommy got married to my dad before I was born. Yeah, because my middle name is Rose. Lovely. Would you like some lip gloss? I have some in my purse. I have a wrap in my tights. I leave it right here. I can be your security. I'm kind of a star at being in love. Yeah. I don't have anything else. I like chipmunks. Oh, I have one more. What are the hours? I have a tight schedule.
Tomorrow's jobs are in science, technology, engineering, and math. Good thing you have a few more years to...
So the question I want to pose to you on that is, how many of our college graduates have a better answer? What are we doing in the pipeline to get these guys and our females and everyone involved to be ready for the workforce in the future that holds? And I'm not going to read all this. We've seen lots of stats. This is nothing new. But I believe that kids can't be what they don't see. Kids say they want to be professional athletes because they see it on TV on every single channel. They want to be a musician because it's on YouTube all the time. They want to be actors because they're on TV. Where's the STEM people? Now, we can sit and point fingers and blame society, but we have an opportunity to bring this focus to light for kids. And so we talk all the time about that. Guys, we got to get you ready for this future, for the jobs that don't exist. But what does that mean? I don't even know what it means. So we have to start to show them. We can look at these jobs. 15, 20 years ago, these weren't even thoughts for people. Now they are jobs, and not all of them even require 4-year degrees. Some of them just a 2-year degree. Half the time, they just need people to show up on time. I've having discussions with people in our community. We have a welding job that's been open for 18 months. All you need is a high school degree and show up on time. They'll pay for your college. In 3 years, they guarantee a 6-figure digit salary. That's a pretty good gig. I'm thinking, like, I should maybe learn how to weld. But these are the things that we've got to do. Oops, wrong way. And so what we have to do is change our perception. And the air of our thinking comes from our perception of how we see the world, 90% of it. And so how do we start to do this work? And so I believe in doing less talk and more action. And so we're going to jump into this right now just to kind of make sure you've got some blood flowing in your veins. Because I believe that learning is about stuff that sticks. Drill and kill doesn't work because it doesn't stick to anything. We have to build experiences. We have to get kids out in the world, as we've seen from the previous speakers, has to connect to the 5 senses. And we've got to be able to continue to build these bonds in the learning. And this hands-on learning is nothing new. It's been around forever. And the reason it's been around forever is because it works. Our hands-on learning, it helps us bring in the world and understand it around us. And so you have a Lego duck kit. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, and you need to make a duck. Go. No pressure, but you're down to 25 seconds. Woo! I know, we're rolling, we're going. Hey, 25 minutes isn't a long time, so we got to squeeze. All right. 15 seconds. I'll give you a 5-second bonus. All right. Go ahead and put on your finishing touches. Because I believe in the power of sharing and believing, and we got to be proud of our work. I want everybody to go ahead and just raise your ducks. I want to see all 60 ducks up in the air. Don't be bashful. I'm going to get a little duck. Some of you, let's go. Get those hands up. Don't be bashful. Let's go. Let's go. Awesome. Okay. So now you've got a little fidget device while I keep talking. So half of you probably quit listening, but it's okay. So the goal here is the power of imagination. Just like we heard about ST Math, we don't need instructions. We don't always have to worry about the language barriers. It's the power of imagination. You were able to create a duck without much structure, without much constraints. And so how do we take simple things like that and scale it to actually make it work in schools? That's like the big thing. We talk about it, but everybody's like, but how do we do it? That's what we have to think about. But what I like about this activity is to get you thinking about this with 6 simple Lego bricks. If we were to really break this down and have more time, you're tapping in to about 24 different skills. Maybe not all of you hit all 24, but I bet in this room, all 24 were probably used in some capacity. And so what I like about this is we don't need tons of equipment in our schools to get a lot of thinking to happen. We just have to reshuffle the deck of the tools we already have. Because the current reality is we're facing budget cuts. We're trying to find quality teachers. We're trying to squeeze in 20 hours of work into an 8-hour day while still trying to somehow balance life and wife and spouse and kids and everything else. And so we have to start to change our perception. And I always say it doesn't have to be that hard. What if we scale it back to the mind of a 4 or 5-year-old and just the way they see the world and the way they drill down on questions and the way they just kind of do things. They don't get so caught up in the nuances of life. I think there's a real beauty in that that we lose as we get older. And so I want to tell you the story of a bald, ugly dude, me. And so I was on a phone call with Lego Education many years ago before the EV3 was going to be released to the public. And I was one of the fortunate people to kind of beta test it and kind of give feedback. And I'll never forget this on the call, or someone from Lego, I don't know who it was asked the question, why a new robot? Because you have the NXT, but why? And he said his goal was to eliminate the butt-to-seat teaching. And that's always stuck with me. How do we get kids, how do we bring back the curiosity again, the inquiry, the hands-on learning, all these things that we know work, our professional instinct tells us it works, but yet we don't really develop it. We squeeze it out with all the other things that we feel like we have to do. And so in my kids' school, in their elementary, in their planners every day, they have to write down something they learned in their school day. So my oldest daughter, she's 5th grade now, she was amazing. She'd always write stuff down. I mean, she had all sorts of things. But my son, when he was there, we ran into this problem. As a parent, this broke my heart, and it pissed me off. As a teacher at the time of the school district, I'm automatically going, okay, wear your professional hat. I can't go bash this teacher. I don't know what's going on, but something's going on. And I'm not here to point fingers because it's dual collaboration. It's on my son needs to own this. You were in school 8 days. What are you doing to get yourself engaged to learn something? But then what's going on in the culture of the building where he should be excited to come tell me something, not just write a question mark? And so what are we doing to change that? My kids are good kids. They're going to be fine, all right? They're just normal, goofy kids. I got a 7th grade son, so I'm dealing with all that. That's a whole other presentation. But so here we are. We've been trying to move from consumption to creation. This is nothing new. Student voice into student agency, taking our kids away from rows of desks and being robots into being just human. And moving from the 20th century to now the 21st century. Well, we're almost a quarter in. At what point do we quit talking about it because it should already be done? And so kids are curious. My daughter asked a lot of questions. So I documented in January one of these sessions. And if you have young kids, try it sometime. Just get a notepad out, and when they start rattling off questions, just write them all down. And we have a bulldog, and she's like, well, can Frankie May actually see the different colors of her skin? And I'm like, no, because her neck's too fat. She can't quite look. And she was asking, like, if I raise up my middle toe, is it the same as the middle finger? And I was like, no. Or why do I have 2 eyes? Or how did mom make me? I'm like, we're done with this. We're done, we're moving. So why do we shoot down their questions? We feel compelled to get so much in the day. There is no moment for kids to ask those questions. And more importantly, to turn around and then explore those questions. And I know we have Genius Hour, and we have maker spaces, all these things I love, but it's a patchwork excuse. As I talk with a lot of people about maker spaces, I had 2 when I worked in middle school, but does nobody see the fallacy in this, that we're creating a space in a school that doesn't feel like school? Like, how does that not just blow people's minds? It's better than nothing, but there's a problem there. And so how do we get away from this short-term gain where we're so focused on numbers and data? Kids have become a spreadsheet system. And I have a 6-year-old daughter that can't read. She can't do sight words. So I get it. We get papers all the time, the 24,000 things that they're doing for her. It's great, but she hates school. She's a number. But she's got a YouTube channel, and she does amazing science things. There's a whole other side to her. And so my fear is this. We focus on the short-term game of data because that's the pressure of life. But what's the long-term development? Yeah, my daughter has moved up 2 points on a spreadsheet this year in reading, but she hates reading. Hating reading is a bigger problem. She'll be able to read someday. I'm not worried about that. We've got to readjust our perceptions here. So I get upset when people say we have to do better, because that implies we're doing things wrong, and I don't believe that people are doing anything intentionally wrong in education. Everybody's busting their tails. But can we do different? Can we take what we have and just look at it different? And I always relate it to shuffling a deck of cards. You have tools. You have strategies. Reshuffle them and use them in different ways. And so here's some things. My daughter, she's trying to make a tower. Now, you can look at this picture, and you know right away this tower isn't going to work. Hot gluing craft sticks on the side of a plastic cup is not going to last very long. But I'm like, figure it out. And it falls over. And I'm like, ooh, okay. And what did she do? She didn't go like, oh, I failed. She's like, hey, look, I made an umbrella. I was like, that's brilliant. You're brilliant. And there's my poor bulldog's, the best looking side, I guess. So let me pose 2 questions to you. So as you're looking at your school and you're looking at the things that you're trying to do with the policies and the ideas that's happening, why would I be successful in this class if I've never been successful before? I come from middle school, if you can't tell with the craziness. Like, if a kid's been unsuccessful in elementary, what makes my room going to be any different? Or from Teach Like a Pirate, if students had a choice to go to your classroom, would you have an empty room? Or for some of you, maybe it's a bigger picture. If students had a choice to go to your school, would they go to your school? So in 2013, 2014, I was given this room at my middle school. And I was given a set of chairs and 2 fold-up tables and said, create a project room, create a makerspace, figure it out. And that's all I was given. And so my goal was to avoid this statement for the 1,100 kids that I'd be working with as an instructional coach, trying to infuse interdisciplinary project-based learning with all the teachers, creating makerspaces, robotics, all the stuff that you guys are already doing and deploying. It's nothing new. And we tried to think outside the box and do something different. And so we started doing lots of crazy things. Started teaching kids how to make robotic insects. These are sensors and switch points with paper clips and a breadboard and DC motors that come from a VCR. We didn't pay for any of this except for the breadboard. We started to create remote control cars or dragsters with cardboard, pop lids, and once again, DC motors from VCRs. We started to create brush bots. We taught kids how to solder. We made robotic pumpkins with Arduino, actually doing this right now in the nonprofit, teaching coding in the physical computing world, getting jaws to open and close. We started making trebuchets and catapults. We made an arcade with Raspberry Pi hooked up to a Scratch, and we were creating our own video arcade consoles in school. We started to go through, and obviously the first Lego League, and we started beta testing other project ideas for Lego, but other startup companies, because we started to share this out with the world. So we had companies all over going, we're going to send you our stuff if your kids are willing to test it. And then it kind of took hold. I go by coffee truck, and so I didn't create the space. The kids created the space. There has to be ownership in the work that we do with kids. Their voice has to be at the table. We're the professionals to know if things are right or wrong, but their voice has to be there. And a lot of times we talk about kids, but we don't ask them. Or if we do ask them, we're not listening. And we need to do that. And so I brought in a coffee pot. We're doing all these amazing things, but it wasn't working in the classroom. So how do we change that? I brought a coffee pot in because I know that brings in teachers. So as kids are working throughout the day, teachers are starting to come into the space in the coffee truck cafe. I'm like, well, what are they doing? What's going on over here? And we start having these conversations. So I started grinding coffee on Friday. We'd get coffee from different places. I'd hand grind coffee. I had a vinyl record player, and we would just have coffee Fridays, and we would just talk. And then it started to work in social studies. We started doing ancient engineering programs and projects with our units of study and hitting the standards, and we're making catapults. And it started to lead into 7th grade science. We started 3D printing body parts, a normal body part and one that had a DNA malfunction. And the kids had to design. We're teaching CAD, we're teaching principles, and then they had to speak on it. Every kid, we have exhibition, and they have to speak to the community. We had started building tiny homes in language arts. We started doing saran wrap bodies. This is a Holocaust, a gas chamber, so when the lights are off, it's amazing. So we had ping pong balls, LED colored changing lights, rigged. We built our own fog machine. The kids made the bodies, and when you walk through with the windows, it was a very, very, very emotional event for a lot of people. We brought teachers in. I ran teacher tinker time on Fridays. And so as opposed to complaining to the teachers that why aren't these teachers doing this stuff, I gave them an article to read. They should be doing it. We brought them in and empowered them. So on Fridays on their prep, when I know their brains were exhausted, we played. They could come in and play. We started to work with experts from around the world all the time, with kids and adults, helping bringing these people in. And we just started having fun. So this started to spread during lunch, before and after school. Kids are coming in all the time. So this is a 3D printed umbrella stand with little bits. And with the IFTTT app, when the weather app predicts that there's going to be rain, the light lights up to let you know you're supposed to take your umbrella. And we started to work with kids from around the state. People were like, well, how do you do this? Help us. And so we started to share a message, started to work with teachers, and we got the chance to work with teachers from around the world. And this isn't to toot my own horn. It's to show you that all you have to do is start. We brought the community in because parents don't understand. You tell them you're going to play and you're going to make. That doesn't make sense. So you bring them in and you empower them. And when they get to experience it, they get to witness it, they get to be part of it, it changes. And next thing you know, parents are writing checks. Parents are offering money. Parents are dropping off old donations. We didn't ask. They wanted to be part of the process. And we get our kids out, and they're sharing. So it's not just sharing of the school, it's sharing of the community. It's websites, it's social media. Now we're talking digital citizenship. Instead of some canned cookie-cutter approach that doesn't work, and we know that kids sit in a digital lit class, and they turn around in their own life and do things that are stupid. But how are we empowering them? We have to bring them in, and we have to lead the way. And then we started to run the enrichment things. So robotic camps and stuff in the summer with bowling and all sorts of different things. And then here's where it leads. Here are the unintentional rewards. The tiny homes that we talked about, we repurposed that wood. And as opposed to a girl trying to make a triboard on cardboard that we all are tired of seeing, she built a frame. We taught her how to stretch canvas. She painted the whole backdrop for her skit. And we taught her soldering and LED lights. And so the lights would light up as she progressed from panel to panel. Something I never would have anticipated. All on her. We've got a 5-foot robot named Twitch. We probably have easily 1,000 hours into this guy. We've been working on him for 3 years, and the kids took real ownership in him. They named him Twitch. Then they called themselves the BMS Theory. And then they created a TV stage, and they have a YouTube channel where every Friday they documented their work. I didn't ask them to. They did. I didn't have to do that. These kids wanted their message out. And all it was a platform to give them the space to breathe and to think. That's all we did. I never told them anything what to do. And as we go there, they started to present. We're presenting at art museums, and we're presenting all over. And then it spreads to my wife's school, who's an 8th grade algebra teacher. And how in the world do you do this stuff with math and algebra nonetheless? So we used Desmo's app. And we created art with equations. We cut them on the vinyl cutter. We made decals for Christmas presents for their parents. We started to go through, we were still having fun. We're making slime at home all the time. I got more slime in my house. It's rather disgusting. And so things start to spread to the home. Oh my gosh, we were doing this and we're doing that. You start to hear these stories. Now there's this positive community connection. People are sharing good, not always all the bad when we usually reach out to home. Band got involved. And we probably broke every fire code hazard in the back because all these Christmas lights are duct taped to the back of this pegboard. But the kids built a train, and the band performed Crazy Train by Ozzy Osbourne, and it was a light show. And so the lights connected with the instruments' music. And the whole entire school, we did an optional performance, and everybody came. And that was really exciting. And at middle school, kids don't get too excited about these kind of things all the time. And then it just transferred. And then all of a sudden, Twitch got a makeover. Now he's looking pretty good. All right? He controls on a PlayStation controller. Our student council got involved. They started putting decals on water bottles and doing fundraisers. These are all the things that just happened because kids started to feel empowered. Fidget spinners, the biggest nightmare of last year, of the school year. We could fight the system, or we invite kids in and say, let's make them. And teach them CAD, teach them weight balance, teach them physics, teach them how to make the fastest one. And it doesn't cost very much. And then it leads into interdisciplinary projects with amazing teachers that take the risk. What you're looking at is a wall that's literally the size of this curtain, and they're panels. And these are marble tracks that run from top to down, and each square is a different group of kids. What they're doing is they're connecting kinetic and potential energies, the stuff they're learning in science, with American history. And so each of these panels tell an event of American history. So take like the Boston Tea Party, a lot of potential energy leading up to the moment, kinetic energy, and they have all the equations connecting how the science parallels events of history. That's amazing, by amazing teachers who took the risk. And aqueduct systems, we built tons of aqueduct systems, and this one, what you're looking at here, it pumps water from the language arts teacher room where the red bucket is. It actually pumps to her ceiling. We had like a cement wall, and it runs water 50 feet into my space where I used to be, and it filled the water reservoir for the coffee machine. But we started back with the fold-up tables. This is where we started, that empty room. And all I did was we started with base plates. And we invited every homeroom to come in 1 day a week, a quarter, and build into our Lego city. That's all we started. And then we said, well, how can we infuse it into the class? And so as opposed to writing rough draft, we made rough drafts. And as opposed to buying a shake table for earthquakes, kids made one. So why do I share all this with you today? The reason that I share this with you today is because all we did was start. Had we continue to read the books and the articles and the research, which are all important, do not get me wrong. You can't just do crazy things without a rhyme and reason. We never would have got to this point. At some point, you just have to go and let go of the fear. And those limitations, I'm telling you, are just right here between our ears. That's where they are. We think they're all around us, but they're not really there. And so the obstacles are only obstacles if you take your eyes off the end of the goal. And so I ask you, what is the purpose of school? What is it that you're after? That is your goal. Then what is needed to reach that goal? And if it doesn't help you reach that goal, then ask yourself, is it really that important? I know there are barriers, there are hoops we have to jump through. I get it. But we cannot continue to make those our excuses to not reach kids. Kids have to be excited about learning again and learning during the school day, because kids are curious outside the school day. You can sit there and observe in middle school. As soon as school's let out in those 10 minutes, you may not want to hear half of what you hear, but boy, they're trying to learn a lot of things. Okay? Everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing themselves. So it's easy. It's easy to say these teachers are stubborn. It's easy for teachers to say admin don't understand us. It's easy to say the state doesn't get it or the federal doesn't get it. That's easy. But what are you doing to change yourself? That's where the power is. That's where the risk is, because once you put yourself out there, you know you're going to be open to scrutiny. You're going to have to be willing to say, I made a mistake. I messed up. Or we don't know. It's okay. The same things we ask kids, we got to be willing to do ourselves. Because this is one of my favorite quotes by Pernille Rip. Our students' dreams are bigger than the standards we have to cover. Do our kids even have dreams? Are we helping them develop those dreams? Do they even know what kind of dreams they even dream? What about those kids that have never left the city? We have a science museum in our area in Iowa. We've got ancient Egyptian mummies. It's literally a 10-minute drive anywhere you live in the Quad Cities to get to this museum. And over half the kids have never seen it. That is mind-blowing to me. So that's our job, to help find ways to get them there. We can blame society, we can blame families and everything, but that doesn't move the needle anywhere. We have to model, we have to lead the way. And so you have to do the work. And as leaders, we have to help kind of carry some of that burden. Whether you're a leader in the classroom or a school or a district or your city, whatever it is, we have to help carry that. We have to work together to make it happen. And we got to start just picking up the pieces and going, well, what happens if we put this piece and this piece together? I don't know. Try it. And we can start young. And we can build in to elementary. And this stuff is already happening. And it continues to scale. And so this doesn't look impressive until you find out the kids were using the presentation to explain GPS and Bluetooth, because we created a cattle tracker for a remote village in Nepal to track their cows, because the kids in Nepal can't go to school. There's 700,000 ghost students because they have to watch the cattle all day. So we created a device you put around the cow. It triggers the phone. So when they're done with school, they can actually go find it, walk the cow home, and be good. Okay? Never would have anticipated a soundstage. It's cheesy looking. Kids made it. 2x4 bench. Kids made it. Tetris pillows. They made it or bought it. All right? They started to document their work. Okay? And this guy's YouTube channel explaining this device he made, people have asked about it all the time. This year we had a fish tank in our school. So what are we going to do when we're not here over winter break? They built an automatic fish feeder. Just feeds fish. And the greatest thing of all is this one here is probably like my proudest moment of all the things if I have to pick one. So kids were starting to come into school a half hour, 45 minutes before I could get there. And I was already getting there early because they wanted to get into the space. And they were getting frustrated that they couldn't get into the space. As opposed to giving up, one day they prototyped all this cardboard stuff and they're like, we got a 3D print. So they 3D printed this box. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I came in one day and this was outside my door. And when you turn this on, I wish I had a video to show you, the matrix screen pops up. And they use the black knob to maneuver the numbers, and then the gear is an enter button. And if you knew the 4 numbers, it would trigger a lock on the inside of my door to unlock the door so they could get in and learn. And so how often do we have places where kids are coming to school so early that they want to get into the space? And that's not because of me. It's just because of the space and the culture that was created by kids and with staff who gave them the opportunity. And then with that, these are the kids that started to stick around. I used to come back. I coached sports. I had to come back at 8 o'clock at night to make sure they were actually out of the space. Parents would just drop off dinner. They would never go home. And I'm talking kids that were ungodly poor to the wealthiest of the wealthiest. It was a hot mix of kids. And I wasn't even there. They had such respect for the space. It wasn't even supervised half the time. Probably maybe illegal. But we had success. Okay, we've done things. We compete. We have that. All right, and that space that I showed you earlier, there it is, created by the kids. Most adults will walk in and go, I don't even know what's in here. I'm like, I don't either. The kids do. Who am I to tell them where to put the tools if that's not where they want the tools? So you build this cohabitation here of making this learning. So you need to stand out. You need to go, what can we do differently and to separate ourselves from all the others that are trying to do the same thing the exact same way and then sitting there going, I don't know why it's not working. Okay? So the scandal of education that every time you teach something, you deprive a child of pleasure and benefit of discovery. That's what we have to get back to in schools. There's a way we can make it happen. And it's simple. As my daughter told me in a worksheet that I came over with, President, first thing I do is wake up. It's not that hard. I always say it's just plain old good teaching. Use your professional instinct. We don't need the acronyms, all that. Just do what works to get kids excited to learn. And so the last thing that I have, because I've been talking a lot, is I want you, I'm only going to give you 30 seconds, not a minute, to build anything but a duck. So 30 seconds, anything but a duck. So you're going to have to break your duck down. I apologize. $15 seconds. Five more seconds. Just quick, snap them together if you're not sure. Let the hands do the work. All right. So what I'm going to have you do, just for the sake of time, I'm going to only give you about 20 seconds to tell your story, so just get with the partner real quick. You're going to convince the person next to you that what you built is actually what you claim it is. So you get a quick 20 seconds each person, so you give about 45 seconds. All right. I'm going to bring you back here real quick. I apologize. All right. So, in my last 60 seconds here, hopefully you got a sense of what it needs. Building curiosity, bringing in the culture of playing, being a risk taker, to challenge you to do that, to look at changing your perspective, to being persistent through these works and actually taking that first step, and most importantly, sharing the journey. Kids in the community need to see the mistakes along the way, not just the perfect product at the end. And so the question I leave you with is this. What's your story going to be? You've heard lots of amazing things already. You're going to hear more. You're going to explore things. You're going to have lots of conversations. But just like any conference, if you go back and don't do anything about it, it's a waste of time and money and resources. So what's your story going to be when you go back? And I hope that you make something different. I hope that you make something innovative. And in the words of John Green, I hope you make something awesome sauce. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day, and appreciate your time.